Lions training camp continues on as day number 2, the final day of joint practice against the Miami Dolphins, has been concluded. Obviously, going into this joint practice with the Dolphins, there were some questions about what this offense and what this team was going to do overall. We've seen the Lions play against the starting offense, starting the defense, and we've seen the defense been kind of the star of this team. The offense has struggled at times against this starting defense. Aiden Hutchinson obviously has the Aiden Hutchinson rule, has looked fantastic. Marcus Davenport has looked fantastic. So really the biggest part of this joint training camp that they're going to have with the Miami Dolphins this week, obviously have it with the Houston Texans next week, is what is this offense going to look like? Is this offense going to be more efficient? Is this offense going to be able to get the job done? And through 2 days and finally the final day of the joint practices, the answer to that is a resounding yes. If there was really any concern about this offense, I truly think these 2 days, while it's not necessarily a preseason game, while it's not a regular season game as well, you finally get to see the starting offense against another team, not their own team, because you don't see that in the preseason games because Dan Campbell doesn't play a lot of the starters. But in this joint practices, you were able to see that, and boy, did they look really good, especially yesterday. Yesterday, the Lions absolutely dominated from all the reports of people that have been there from. You have the people that cover the team. Some fans talked about it was just an absolute domination on offense and defense. It absolutely started on offense with Amon Ra St Brown. He was causing issues for the Miami Dolphins secondary. He could do whatever he wanted. He was just so efficient. He had a couple of touchdowns. I think he had a huge touchdown down the field. Just something that you love to see and something that you knew that when that time comes, Amon Ra was going to step up. Another player that had a really good day overall is Jared Goff. Obviously, Jared Goff being the starting quarterback for the Lions, you obviously should expect him to be a big part of this team's success. And there's been times throughout camp that he's struggled a little bit, maybe not as efficient as he has been. But in day number 1, he was great, and he really responded in day number 2 as well. Isaac Tesla, I've talked a little bit about him in the past. He had a great catch game 1. But just this offense was able to run the ball just over and over and over. They were able to continue to get first downs. And this offense, just through the first 2 days in these joint training practices against the Miami Dolphins, has looked really, really good and has been really efficient. Yesterday, I know that Hendon Hooker was taking the second team reps. He did pretty good overall. It just seems like kind of how good this offense did overall. Really didn't necessarily matter if it was the starters to the second string to the third string. And obviously that's a really good sign going into the season. You just need to continue to build off of that. The offensive line is continuing to get healthier, which is obviously great. Now regarding health, Dan Campbell did say that Sam Laporta is going to be out a little bit. Nothing too concerning regarding that, so obviously want to keep an eye out on that. And then day number 2 for the offense, you saw a little bit of what John Moore was wanting to do. He did talk a little bit about kind of keeping the trick plays for the Lions, and he saw a little bit of that today, at least one play from reports that basically David Montgomery was in the backfield, Jared Goff was out wide. It seemed like it was only a handoff. Do I think we see that at all this year? Maybe you might see a similar formation, maybe not the exact same play, but you're starting to see a little bit of what John Moran is talking about. And then another part that he's talking about is being able to throw the ball down the field. And JMO had a 50-yard touchdown catch. Like, you just see that JMO's becoming more of that quote-unquote number 2 wide receiver, that wide receiver that is becoming better at route running. He did have a few tough drops yesterday, but he's just been overall better, and you obviously love to see that if you're a Lions fan. Now, on the other side of the ball, I thought yesterday, and all the reports basically said that the defensive line, that the defense overall just dominated, that Marcus Davenport, Aiden Hutchinson was just absolutely dominant over and over and over. I believe Aiden Hutchinson at one point had like 2 sacks and like 5 attempts. He was just great. You continue to hear great things about Marcus Davenport as well. Secondary, you do not have Kirby Joseph playing, but obviously they seem to be taking a little bit of a step up there. And then you also have, like, the linebackers are looking good. DJ Reed is looking good. Now, obviously, you look at kind of what the Lions did today. They didn't perform as well. They kind of got off to a little bit of a rough or slow start. They did allow a couple of touchdowns, but then they just continued to respond, and you just saw a more competitive practice today. And I think if you have to take one thing away from this whole joint practice, obviously it's not a game, like I said earlier. I think this kind of makes fans a little bit more excited about this offense and maybe a little bit less concerned of what this offense can be, at least at the start of the year, because I think a lot of people believe this offense is going to be a really good offense if they stay healthy. I think this kind of settles it down a little bit. Obviously, we need to see what looks like against next week against the Houston Texans. I think the Houston Texans is going to be a better team than the Miami Dolphins. We don't know exactly what the Miami Dolphins is going to be this year. I don't think they're expected to be very, very good. But they do have some capable players. I believe Tyreek Hill did not practice, which obviously when you have a player like Tyreek Hill, just his speed obviously can cause issues. They still have some talent on that offensive side of the ball. They still have Tagovailoa at the quarterback position. They have AGN as well. From all reports, especially yesterday, he was the main issue offensively against the Lions. I just think overall, if you look at what the Lions have done defensively against an offense, I think still will be pretty good while still missing some pieces, and they were also missing pieces on the defensive side of the ball. I think you really have to take away a lot of positives from this joint practices between the Lions and the Dolphins. So overall, pretty happy with what I've seen with the reports that has really happened. Obviously, there's still a couple preseason games left to go. There's still a lot of practices left to be had. Obviously, there's still some cut decisions that need to be made. This doesn't mean this offense, this doesn't mean this defense is going to be elite. But if you were wondering about one thing, especially offensively, I think this week so far has really kind of settled down a few bit of concerns that Lions fans should have, because it really seems like when this offense is humming, when this offense can run the ball, which they were able to open up lanes, this offense is going to continue to be a really, really good offense. And obviously with the way the defense performed yesterday, still didn't perform as well today. I think that, again, buys a little bit more of belief into what this team can be and what fans' expectations are. And so overall, just thought this was a good couple of days. Obviously, with the preseason game coming up, I'll talk more about that. But hopefully you enjoyed this coverage. I'll probably talk more about the preseason game. There's also news coming out about Michigan tomorrow. We'll kind of figure out what Michigan's penalties are for the Connor Stallions situation. So I'll talk about that in the next episode. But yeah, thank you for tuning in.